"Elon, you need to see this." Clara's voice broke through the quiet hum of Tesla headquarters. She stood in the doorway, her face unusually grave, holding a tablet close to her chest without looking up. Elon muttered, "Unless it's about Mars, it can wait." "It's not about Mars," Clara replied. "It's about someone who thinks you're her hero that caught his attention." He looked up, curiosity sparking in his eyes. Clara placed the tablet on the desk and pressed play. The screen lit up, revealing a young girl lying in a hospital bed. She was pale, her bald head wrapped in a bright pink scarf. Despite her frailty, her voice was steady. "Hi, Mr. Musk. My name is Lily, and I'm 9 years old. My dream is to go to Mars, but the doctors say I won't live long enough to see it happen. That's okay. I just have one wish. I want to meet you, even if it's just for one hug." The video ended, leaving the room heavy with silence. Elon leaned back in his chair, staring at the frozen image of Lily's bright smile. "Is this real?" he asked quietly. Clara nodded. "Her mom sent it through a charity foundation. Lily has terminal cancer. She doesn't have much time for a moment." Elon sat motionless, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. Finally he said, "How soon can we make this happen?" Elon didn't realize that answering this question would change more than just one little girl's life. The car ride to the airstrip was silent, but Elon's mind was anything but. His driver navigated the empty streets, but the real journey was happening. In Elon's thoughts, he stared out the window, replaying the video in his mind. The girl's voice, her unwavering hope, had pierced something deep inside him. He had been called a hero many times, but this was different. He felt a pressure that no amount of success or wealth could ease as the car stopped at the private jet. Clara, sitting beside him, broke the silence. "You don't have to do this," she said softly. "You're already her hero. Even if you stayed here, Lily would still think of you that way." Elon didn't respond immediately. He stepped out of the car, the brisk night air stinging his face at the foot of the jet's stairs. He finally turned to her. "She deserves more than just an image of me." He said she deserves something real inside the jet. The hum of the engines provided a steady background to Elon's restless pacing. He hated sitting still on flights. The confined space left him alone with his thoughts. Tonight, those thoughts were overwhelming. What if I disappoint her? He muttered, the words hung in the air, directed at no one in particular. "You won't," Clara said from across the cabin. She had her tablet open, likely catching up on emails, but her tone was sincere. "You don't have to perform or prove anything. She just wants to meet you. That's exactly why it's so hard," Elon replied, sitting down but immediately leaning forward, elbows on his knees. "People see me as this larger-than-life figure to Lily. I'm not just Elon Musk. I'm the guy who made Mars possible. What if I don't live up to her expectations?" Clara closed her tablet and looked at him directly. "Have you ever thought that Lily's expectations aren't what you think they are? She's not asking for Mars. She's asking for a hug. She's asking for you." The words struck him harder than he expected. He had spent his life chasing the extraordinary, building visions of the future, but he had rarely stopped to consider the power of simply being present. He glanced out the window again, his reflection faintly visible against the black sky. For years he had envisioned humanity reaching for the stars, but now, for the first time, those stars felt personal. "You know," Clara said after a long pause, "I don't think it's about what you say or do. I think just showing up might be the most heroic thing you've ever done." Elon gave her a small nod, but the tension in his jaw remained. The jet began its descent, the city lights below twinkling like a scattered galaxy. The hospital was only minutes away now as the wheels touched down. Elon realized this wasn't just a flight to meet Lily. It was a journey into the unknown, and he wasn't sure if he was ready for what awaited him. The hospital loomed in front of them, its fluorescent lights flickering faintly in the pre-dawn hours. Clara walked a step behind Elon, her tablet clutched to her chest, her face a mixture of nerves and determination. A nurse led them through the sterile, quiet halls toward the pediatric oncology ward. The door to Lily's room was decorated with hand-drawn pictures, rockets, planets, and a particularly wobbly but charming sketch of what Elon realized was the SpaceX logo. A small nameplate read "Lily's Space Adventures." Elon hesitated at the door. Clara touched his arm. "She's been waiting for this moment." He took a deep breath and stepped inside. The room was small but vibrant. The walls were covered with posters of constellations and Mars rover schematics. A telescope sat by the window, Its lens pointed toward the night sky. On the bedside table was a notebook labeled Mission Log. Its pages, filled with scribbles and sketches, in the middle of it all was Lily. She was sitting up in bed, her frail frame propped up by pillows. Her head was wrapped in her signature pink scarf, and her face lit up the moment she saw him. "Mr. Musk," she whispered, her voice barely audible but filled with awe. Elon knelt by her bedside, a small smile tugging at his lips. "You must be Lily," he said gently. "I've heard you're a big fan of Mars." Lily giggled, the sound weak but pure. "Yes, I've been practicing for zero-gravity look." She lifted her thin arms and minded floating, her laughter filling the room. "Do you think I'd make a good astronaut?" Elon chuckled softly. "I think you'd be one of the best, but astronauts have to promise to train hard." Lily held out her pinky, her eyes wide with determination. "Deal." For a moment, Elon hesitated, then swallowing the lump in his throat, he linked his pinky with hers. "Deal." They sat together for a while talking about rockets and space. Lily showed him her notebook filled with detailed plans for her Mars adventure. She had drawn herself in a spacesuit, standing proudly next to a SpaceX rocket. Elon traced the shaky lines with his finger, his chest tightening. "You've thought of everything," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You'd be an amazing mission commander." Lily beamed, her cheeks flushing faintly. "Do you think I could really go to Mars someday?" Elon met her gaze, his eyes softening. "I think you already have." As their conversation continued, Lily's mother appeared in the doorway. Her face was a mixture of relief and exhaustion, her hands trembling slightly. "Thank you for coming," she said softly. "You've made her so happy." Elon stood walking over to her. "She's an extraordinary girl," he said. "I'm the one who's lucky to meet her." Lily's mother smiled through her tears. "She wrote something for you," she said, holding out a small envelope. "She wanted you to have it." Elon took the envelope, feeling the weight of it even before he opened it, as he slid the letter into his pocket. Elon knew this moment would stay with him forever, but he wasn't prepared for how much it would change him back at the hotel. Elon sat by the window, the envelope still unopened in his hand. He had read hundreds of letters from admirers over the years, each one thanking him for his work, for his vision, for the hope he inspired. But this one felt different. He knew it would be different. The city lights outside twinkled faintly as he unfolded the paper. The handwriting was shaky but clear, every word carefully chosen. "Dear Mr. Musk, thank you for making my dream come true. Meeting you was the best day of my life. When you go to Mars, please take a piece of me with you. Even if I can't go, I want to be part of the journey." Lovely. Elon stared at the letter for a long time, his chest tight for all his accomplishments, all the barriers he had broken. This simple note carried more weight than anything he had ever achieved. The next morning, he returned to the hospital. The bright energy that had filled Lily's room the day before was noticeably dimmer. She smiled when she saw him, but it was weaker, her cheeks pale. Elon sat by her bed, careful not to show the worry he felt. "You've got quite a fan club," he said, holding up the notebook she had given him. "I had to fight Clara to keep this." Lily laughed softly, the sound more like a whisper. "It's my mission log," she said. "Every astronaut needs one." He nodded seriously. "It's the best mission log I've ever seen." Lily shifted slightly, her small hands clutching the blanket. Her voice was hesitant when she asked Mr. Musk, "Why do you want to go to Mars?" The question caught him off guard. He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Because Mars is a second chance," he said. "Finally, it's hope, a way to make sure humanity survives, no matter what happens to Earth." Lily's gaze didn't waver. "It's about dreaming big, isn't it?" Elon smiled faintly. "Something like that." "I like that," she said, her voice thoughtful. "I think big dreams are important." She paused, her small hands fiddling with the edge of the blanket. "Mr. Musk, can I ask you something else?" "Anything," he said. Lily hesitated for a moment, her eyes searching his. "When you go to Mars, will you take me with you?" The room seemed to freeze. Elon felt the weight of her question settle over him, heavy than any rocket he had ever launched. He leaned closer, his voice steady. "I promise, Lily," he said softly, "you'll be with us every step of the way." Her smile returned, faint but radiant. "Really, really," he said firmly. "You'll always be part of Mars." As she closed her eyes and drifted off to sleep, Elon realized this wasn't just a promise, it was a mission he couldn't fail. The next morning, the hospital was quieter than usual. Elon noticed the difference immediately as he stepped into the pediatric ward. The hum of machines was softer, the voices of nurses subdued. Lily's mother met him at the door of her room, her eyes red, but her expression, "Resolute. Sheck been asking for you," she said quietly, stepping aside to let him in inside. Lily was propped up on her pillows, her pink scarf slightly askew. She looked smaller today, her face pale, but her smile was as bright as ever. "Hi, Mr. Musk," she whispered. Elon sat beside her, taking her small hand in his. "Hi, Commander Lily," he said, forcing a smile. "How's the mission log coming along?" She giggled faintly. "It's almost ready for launch," she said, her voice soft but proud. "But I wanted to give you something first." Lily's mother handed her a small piece of paper, folded neatly into a star. Lily held it out to Elon with trembling hands. "This is for you," she said, "so you can take it to Mars." Elon took the star, carefully feeling its delicate weight in his hands. The edges were uneven, the folds imperfect, but it was the most precious thing he had ever held. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick. "I'll make sure this reaches Mars." Lily's eyes sparkled. "You promise?" "I promise," Elon said firmly. "This star will go farther than any star has ever gone." For a moment they sat in silence, the hum of machines filling the room. Then Lily looked at him, her expression serious. "Mr. Musk," she said softly, "I don't think I'll be here much longer." Elon's throat tightened. "You'll always be here, Lily," he said. "Every time I look at the stars, I'll see you." Her smile returned, faint but radiant. "Do you think people will remember me?" "Of course they will," Elon said. "You're going to be part of something so big, so extraordinary, that people will talk about you for generations. You've already made history." Lily's eyes closed briefly, her breath shallow. When she opened them again, she whispered, "I'll watch from the stars." Elon stayed with her until she drifted off to sleep, her hand still clutching his when her mother re-entered the room, her face streaked with tears. Elon stood placing the folded star in his pocket. As he left the room, he knew Lily's star wasn't just a symbol, it was a promise that he would carry with him to the ends of the universe. The next morning, Clara received the call. Elon was sitting in his office, staring out at the horizon. As the sun rose, he had slept only a few hours, the folded paper star sitting on his desk beside the letter. Clara's voice was soft as she stepped in. "She passed early this morning." The words struck like a blow. Elon didn't move at first, his gaze fixed on the skyline. For a man who prided himself on solving impossible problems, on fixing the unfixable, this was a truth he could not change. He exhaled slowly, standing and slipping the star into his pocket. "Thank you," he said quietly, his voice almost a whisper. Later that day, he returned to the hospital to see Lily's mother. She was sitting in the same chair where she had waited so many times before, her face lined with grief, but also a quiet resolve. "She talked about you until the very end. She said you gave her everything she ever dreamed of." Elon reached into his pocket, pulling out the folded star. "She gave me this," he said softly, "and I made her a promise." Lily's mother nodded, tears streaming down her face. "She believed in you. She always said you could do anything." Elon placed a hand on her shoulder, a rare gesture of comfort from a man who so often hid his emotions. "She'll always be a part of everything I do." After the visit, he returned to the SpaceX headquarters, his steps heavy but purposeful. He walked into the design lab where the latest rocket prototype was being prepared for testing. Pulling the folded star from his pocket, he turned to the engineers. "I need this to go to Mars," he said simply. "It has to be part of the first mission." The team looked at him, their faces a mixture of confusion and respect. No one questioned it. The star was carefully sealed inside a compartment meant to carry mementos and messages to humanity's future home in the days that followed. Elon worked tirelessly, his focus sharper than it had been in years. Every decision, every calculation carried the weight of Lily's dream. She wasn't just an inspiration. She was a reminder of why he had started this journey in the first place. Weeks later, during a press conference, a reporter asked about the small personal items being sent on the Mars mission. Elon paused, uncharacteristically hesitant. "A little girl named Lily gave me something," he said finally, his voice steady but heavy with emotion. "She dreamed of going to Mars, but she couldn't make the journey herself. So I'm taking her with us. She'll always be part of this mission." The room fell silent, the weight of his words sinking in, as Elon stood beneath the towering rocket on launch day. The paper star safely inside, he realized that Lily hadn't just changed his life. She had become part of his legacy. The day of the Mars launch arrived with a sky so clear it seemed the universe itself had opened its arms. In welcome the SpaceX facility was abuzz with activity, engineers and scientists moving with precision. As the countdown loomed closer, cameras from every major news outlet were trained on the towering rocket, its sleek frame gleaming in the sunlight. Elon stood in the control room, his gaze fixed on the rocket through the reinforced glass. The folded paper star sat inside a compartment near the heart of the payload. It wasn't just a keepsake, it was a promise fulfilled, 30 minutes to launch. Clara said softly, standing beside him. She had been unusually quiet that day, aware of the weight this mission carried. Elon nodded but said nothing. His thoughts were with Lily, her laughter, her determination, her unwavering belief in something bigger than herself. She had taught him something he hadn't expected. The power of small moments to change the course of history. The voice of the launch director echoed through the room. Final systems check complete. All systems go. Elon reached for the microphone addressing the team. This launch isn't just about Mars, he said, his voice steady but tinged with emotion. It's about hope. It's about dreams that reach beyond the limits of time and space, and it's about the people who inspire us to be better. Today, we carry one of those people with us. The room fell silent, the gravity of his words sinking in. Clara placed a hand on his shoulder, her expression one of quiet support. 10 minutes to launch, the voice announced outside. The rocket stood like a monument to human ambition. Elon's eyes never left it. As the final seconds ticked away, he whispered, "This is for you, Lily." The engines roared to life, a deafening sound that seemed to shake the very earth. The rocket lifted off its flame, trail cutting through the sky like a shooting star. The control room erupted in cheers, but Elon remained still watching until the rocket disappeared from sight months later, when the first Mars rover transmitted images back to Earth. One of the photos showed a small makeshift memorial inside the habitat encased in glass, was Lily's paper star, along with a plaque that read, "For Lily, who dreamed of the stars and became one of them." The image went viral, inspiring millions of children around the world. Drew their own stars, sending them to SpaceX with letters about their dreams of space exploration schools named projects. After Lily, and her story became a symbol of resilience, hope, and the boundless reach of human imagination. Elon visited the memorial years later, standing beneath the harsh Martian sky. The red soil stretched endless lie before him, a testament to the dreams he and countless others had fought for. But his gaze was fixed on the star, its folds slightly weathered but intact. "You made it, Lily," he whispered, his voice barely audible in the thin Martian air. "We made it back on Earth." People continued to tell Lily's story, of the little girl who dreamed of Mars, the man who carried her dream to the stars, and the legacy that reminded everyone that no dream is too small to change the universe. And somewhere far beyond the reach of Earth, Lily's star shines brighter than ever.